We've all played indie games, right? In the endless sea of indie games that is spread throughout the internet, there's plenty of indie slop, honestly. That can be seen easily by the many indie games that are uploaded to Steam every day. Some games are more questionable than others. There are many indie games that tend to stand out from the rest, and tend to hold most of the love for the indie game genre. Things like Terraria for sandbox games, Balatro for roguelikes, even Undertale, or even Hades if you like action roguelikes. But there are thousands of games that are passions of labor produced by the creators that are quite hidden when compared to other indie games that really need to receive more praise. I have one of those games for you. A game that deserves far more credit that is received beyond its positive Steam reviews. Now with all that out the way, let me introduce you to Post Void. Post Void is a game created by the developers YCJY Games. YCJY Games is a duo of developers that have, as of this time, have four of the games in their belt. This game was created by the duo and has a very unique style comparable to that of Cancer for the Eyes, weirdly enough, but the art style is so addictive that it really doesn't even matter. Post Void was released on Steam in August 6, 2022. It's basically peak COVID. And while the game has received plenty of positive reviews, it's not as popular as their other works. Post Void is an interesting game, falling under the category of Zoomer shooter. My first time seeing it too. It's what they call it on Steam. And basically, it's akin to something like Mad Mullet Jack, if you've heard of that. Post Void has a very interesting art style, with the art style basically being this mix of 2.5D pixel art. The art complements the swiftness of the game, being smooth when flying through the level. The style of the game is beautiful and complements the world that the game is trying to get across. It's so beautiful that it's almost a shame you have to run past everything. If you take time to look, everything has details in it, especially the sprites. As you can see, a lot of the sprites have a lot of passion put into them. The animations of the game are smooth and don't feel like they get in the way of the gameplay too much. We've all played games where the animations are maybe too big or sloppily made. The animations tend to make the game feel more alive, in almost a disgusting way. Like, look at the way the character grips this totem. Ew, right? Post Void has a clear pixel-based art style, being clearly seen when things are farther away. When things are farther away from the character, they lose their definition and become more pixelated. This definition is a clean way of showing the distance and makes the game feel a lot faster. And speaking of the speed of the game, let's discuss the gameplay. The gameplay of Post Void is quite simple, being run and shoot. It's literally it. And as you fly through the level, that's basically all you're going to be doing. The game is short, being able to be a general run, being able to beat in about 6 to 10 minutes, with it having 11 levels broken up into 3 acts. The game runs on a timer that resets every time you kill an enemy. If the timer runs out before you kill an enemy, it's instantly game over. This is the main system of the game. You have to make sure that you're constantly killing enemies while flying through the levels. And this system leads to a stress of killing enemies so that you don't take too much damage or run out of time before you finish the level, but you're also at the same time being assaulted by waves of enemies as you have to fly through. And speaking of killing enemies, since we're already on that topic, I guess we should talk about how do you get it done. When you first begin a run, you start with a basic pistol, being an insta-kill to the head, but taking multiple shots to the body to kill most enemies. So it's generally better to aim for the head so you can progress faster through the level. When you reach the end of each level, you can choose a power-up from a lineup of 3 random choices. These power-ups include 3 new weapons being a machine gun, a shotgun, and a knife. The machine gun has a high rate of fire, but the recoil can be difficult to control while you're flying through the level trying to kill enemies. Despite this con, it's a very solid choice for a weapon to use during a run. The shotgun, the weapon that I honestly think is the best, my run winner, has a lower fire rate than any other weapons, and it only has 2 shots on the reload. But this does incredible damage, insta-killing almost everything with 1 shot. It has high spread and high damage, making it amazing for trying to fly through the levels in the game, while dealing with all the enemies. Other upgrades make these 2 weapons even better, and some of the other upgrades were increased ammo count, faster reloads, enemies exploding on death, and even ricocheting bullets. The upgrades pair perfectly with the shotgun and the machine gun, making them far better at killing enemies while having to dodge or pause in the level to adjust your aim. As for the knife, it's a short-range weapon that can be charged for a more powerful slash. Honestly, out of all the other weapons in the game, and with my experience playing it, the knife is definitely the weakest weapon so far. Especially when compared with the later levels, where you're constantly trying to fly through the levels and dodge bullets. Having to get so up close just basically makes it useless. So it's basically eh. These upgrades to your weapons are necessary for beating the game, as though when progressing through the game, the number of enemies and projectiles become almost ridiculous. From what you can see on the screen, the last few levels of the game are a hectic mess to navigate. The levels also begin to become more complicated, having to be jumped through and fall down certain corridors, all while having to kill enemies and trying not to take too much damage. Well, no, I wouldn't really say killing enemies, you're more so dealing with your timer on your back. The game in terms of difficulty is not very hard once you get a good handle on the movement and shooting. Now, I must say, it ended up making the game 1,000 times more difficult for myself about forgetting the slide feature in the movement. But that's why we have tutorials, right? Right? No? Just me? Okay. But honestly, I guess it's about here I wrap up Post Void. Post Void is an indie game that is amazing, has immaculate replayability and fun gameplay at a price you can't beat. Just $3. That's all this game is. Well, at the same time, you probably already got that from the title. But whatever. But at a price point of only $3, it shows exactly what indie games are. Passion products made by the developers to bring different experiences at low price points. But at the end of the day, that's really all I wanted to rant about. Just an indie game I found.